there's my beautiful friend.
Hello.
All right, Rebecca, we made it. We made it. I was just telling everybody how it was interesting at TikTok. We were experimenting. We were going to try to go live from there, but Bloop didn't give us the option. We don't have enough followers. And then I tried to go live from my author account and bring you in. Did you switch from Rebecca to the Celtic Bee?
I just changed my name
Okay.
on there, and I have like 20. I have like 25 followers because it's really for my business. I didn't want to really put anything personal out there, so that's kind of why I changed the name.
No, it's totally fine. I was just panicking because I'm like, why is her name not showing up in just Celtic Bee? And is she on, or is this Celtic Bee? So anyway, so I was just panicking a little bit. So we're figuring it out. So we're gonna work really hard and get our TikTok following up, posting more content all the time. But that being said, we want to get right into it. So welcome. We're a little bit late. We were over on TikTok, but again, we're bringing it to Instagram. We didn't want to miss this for you guys. This week, we're doing things a little different because, you know, I think I shared with you last week or the week before that Rebecca and I have a lot of irons in the fire, and reading a book a week separately, plus reading 2 books a month that are in together, so that when we do our formal tapings, is a little bit much for 2 really busy women, right? So trying to get 6 books in a month was like, I can't do that. From now on, we're going to be doing 1 book review a week, plus we're going to have a short discussion that centers around something bookish. Like, for example, tonight, Rebecca's going to be reviewing The Wish by Nicholas Sparks, and I'm going to be leading a conversation about content ratings and why I feel books need to have them. So, yeah, to you, Rebecca, let us have it about this book, The Wish.
Well, before I get into the book, I'm just going to say, you guys, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to try really hard to stream from that platform very soon, and then stream to the other platforms simultaneously. I don't know how all that works, but, you know, there's people that do. So we're going to be doing that. So you can follow us pretty much anywhere, from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Please subscribe to our TikTok, or our TikTok, or however that works. And you can find us at Bloop Podcast, just on any platform. So so
I'll
please
type it in the comments for you guys. I'm gonna put it in the comments. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, this week, well, actually, it was last week that I read this book, The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. And I think I shared last week that this book slayed me, emotionally. I bawled, and I haven't bawled about a book in a really long time. I mean, Boohoo cried like alligator tears, and it wasn't okay for a while. And I wasn't going to review it last week because it was just a little too soon, and I felt like, oh gosh, you know, I'm still a little emotional. I don't want to cry. So I'll give it a minute before I review this book. So I'm ready to review it this week. So let me show you the cover. And again, it's backwards, but this is the cover. It's
Awesome.
It's got a really pretty. Sorry,
we'll
go ahead.
post too. We'll make a post on our Bloop Podcast Instagram, so it's on our feed. We'll make a post of the cover as well with our mini review.
For sure. And yesterday I posted it on Instagram, just the cover, and saying, hey, we're going to go live tonight. So, but it's really pretty. Unfortunately, I don't have a color printer, so this is what you get from me. But when we go live on YouTube, I'll be able to pull those up, you know, and show people the covers while we're on camera, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, yes. So this book, I already rated it, just so you know. 5 stars from me. Which, yeah, this is a 5-star book. So, the summary of this book, I'm not going to read the synopsis because I'm just going to tell you a little bits and pieces from the synopsis that's already there. You can look it up for yourself if you want to read it. But the book starts off about this woman named Maggie Dawes. She is a traveling photographer, so she goes and takes pictures. And she, present day, the book is in 2019. So present day 2019 in the book. she owns, well, I don't know if she owns, but she runs a photo gallery in New York City. Um, and she 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 unexpectedly gets grounded at Christmas time from being able to do much with her photos or travel or anything like that because she starts to have an unexpected illness. So she's struggling with that, and she becomes increasingly dependent on her young assistant that works there. And they start to get close, and again, it's Christmas time, and she starts to tell him of a Christmas that happened in her past. So then the book kind of switches to 1996, Christmas in 1996, where she was 15 years old and she became and her parents sent her away to live in Ocracoke, North Carolina, in the Outer Banks with her aunt Linda. So she had to go through this whole pregnancy with her aunt that she didn't even really know. Like she maybe met her one time or something like that. And so the book starts
for just a second. I just want everybody to know that what Rebecca's doing is spoiler free. So yes. This is all stuff you'll easily get in the beginning of the book. So don't worry about that. You don't have to tune out. She's keeping it spoiler free.
Yes, for sure. So while she's there, in 1996, 15 years old, she has to be, tutored, and she meets this boy named Blake. What's his last name? Blake Trickett. No, Bryce. Bryce Trickett. I'm sorry, Bryce Trickett. She meets a boy named Bryce Trickett. He becomes her tutor. He also teaches her about taking photographs, and this is where she learns to love photography. Bryce and Maggie also fall in love. This is a true love story for sure. And so the book kind of goes into their little love story, and it was weird because I've come to expect a lot of romance from Nicholas Sparks. But this book did not have a whole lot of romance in it. And despite not having these like romantic encounters between these two, it was very sweet. Their romance was true. It was you could just tell how much they started to really love each other, and they became really good friends. And you could also see the tension there with the two being conflicted on, should I act on this feeling? I really want to, but with present circumstances, I mean, she's pregnant. So yeah. You could tell that there was just some conflict there. And Maggie's parents also didn't want, once she had the baby, she was going to go back to her old life. So they were kind of like, we're probably not going to be able to stay in touch with each other. So they didn't want to really get too rolling into a relationship and then it have to just be abruptly ending for them. So, yeah. So they just kind of, but you could kind of just feel that tension the whole time, and it was just so sweet and so actually it was just beautiful. So there was really not a whole lot of spice in this book, but there was a lot of tension and building to it, So then the book flips back to present day.
I was going to say, so what was your readings?
Oh, I'll get there in just a second. The book flips back to present day, and then she finishes her story, and you can tell that Maggie is just a woman that struggles with what could have been and what is. And ultimately, the story ended with an unspoken, unacknowledged wish that was granted. So the whole story was very sweet. You will cry when you read this book. Just to go ahead and set the box of tissues down next to you and just get ready for it, because you're going to cry. You're going to have emotional whiplash throughout this book. But it's amazing, wonderfully written. I mean, just Nicholas Sparks, if you've ever read a book by him or watched a movie by him, you just know that he has a brilliant way of telling a story. It sucks you right in from the beginning, and it doesn't stop. I read this book really quickly. What my overall rating? Okay, well, the sexual content rating is a 1, because there's really there's lots of steam, but little to no spice. It's very innocent, no descriptive acts beyond kissing, and even the kissing was super chaste. It was just, there wasn't much going on between them. It focuses more on thoughts and feelings. There's no explicit description, no crude language. There's adult themes dealing with teen pregnancy and illness. And I believe that a mature teen could handle this book, although, you know, depending on a teen's age, it might be a little boring in places, but I gave it a rating of YA 16, even though this book is not a young adult book, it's an adult book, but I believe that a mature teen could definitely handle reading this book for sure, if they wanted to. Parents would not have to worry about this book at all. So,
So what do you think it would fit more in the sweet and sour adult, or are you sticking with YA 16?
Say that again? I'm sorry. I had a little glitch.
Do you feel like it would fit more? I feel like the way you describe it, I didn't read it. I feel like the way you described it, it would be sweet and sour adult. 17 plus.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I was really conflicted with my rating because a 12-year-old could read this book. Would they be interested in reading this book? Probably not, you know, because of the content.
I'm sorry. Well, you said it had adult themes, right? Or is it?
Adult themes with teenage pregnancy. So, I mean, she's 15 when she gets pregnant. So I was thinking, you know, a 14-year-old could read it. It's not, you know, and there's some, you know, talks about illness and different things like that, and struggles. There's a lot of tension with the parents and different things, but like it's a very clean book. So I think that any age could really read the book if they wanted to read it, if they were interested in what's in it, but it might be boring for a younger teen.
Yeah, I don't see that. But I remember you saying actually that it did flash back and it dealt with a lot of her teenage years. So yeah, I could see, you know, the young adult aspect too. Maybe it fits both. Who knows?
Yeah, we have to hear from a young adult reading it, you know. I mean, but I that's why I kind of gave it my rating, even though when you go and you look this book up, it's, you know, an adult romance, contemporary adult romance. So, but I'm just saying that if a younger teen wanted to read this book, it would be completely fine. I would be okay with my child reading this book.
You're saying,
but yeah, I mean, I love it.
It's safe in regards of like graphic you know, it's safe regarding graphicness of violence, sex, drugs, all of that. Okay.
And there's no description. Like I said, there's lots of steam, no spice. There's a couple chaste kisses, you know, there's nothing going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a really good book, and I wish I could tell you more about it, but if I told you any more about it, I'd be giving half the book away, and I don't want to do that. So, but like I say, this book was amazing. I loved it. Oh, and I do have my favorite quote. I actually sent a picture of the quote to my husband's phone because I didn't print it out because I ran out of time. But anyway, one of my favorite quotes from this book is, "There are moments when I wish I could roll back the clock and take all the sadness away. But I have a feeling that if I did, the joy would be gone as well. So I take the memories as they come, accepting them all, letting them guide me wherever I can." So that was from Maggie's character. So I really liked that quote. It was one of my favorites. Anyway, that's it for me.
Write that down. Write down. That's awesome. Okay. The Wish, Nicholas Sparks. You heard it here.
Nicholas Sparks.
You got,
got
Rebecca.
I was gonna tell you. So last week I did say that I was reading currently "Defy the Night" by Brigid Kemmerer. And I finished it, and it's amazing. So I can't wait to review that with you because I know you have to read it too because we were reading this for book club. So great story. Loved it. And what am I going to read next? Well, I'm actually rereading It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover because we're going to be doing our book club live between Laura and I where we've read the same books and we're going to be reviewing them together. And we're going to be doing that in the
in our
studio.
more formal taping. As of now, those won't be live for interaction, but we're working towards that. But for right now, it will be both of us in the studio together, and it'll be more of a book club format. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so I was rereading that so that Laura and I can argue about it. I mean, talk about it. When we do our more formal taping. And then the next thing I think I'm going to read is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I've been hearing people reading that all over the place, and people have been begging me to read it, so I want to read that. And if there's a book that you guys would like for us to read, one of us to read, if it's our cup of tea, then we will read it and give our review. So let us know if there's something you think we should read.
Okay.
And I'm turning it over to you, Laura.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to just do a quick 5-minute chat because we're trying to keep these chats to about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So I am wanting to bring up quickly something that makes Bloop different, right? We see reviews all the time, book reviews, but what we feel there isn't really that much focus or discussion on is content ratings. And so here at Bloop, we really feel as though readers have a right to know what they're reading, before they dive in and spend their time, their money, their emotions, their energy. Because I don't know about you, I get emotionally attached to fictional characters. And so it's important to know before you spend all of that, if that's a book for you. And we feel it helps both the reader and the author. And so this was something that was on my heart many moons ago, and it's just something that the Lord kept bringing up for me, getting more confirmation, starting to see more people talk about it, especially, and I think why it became so placed on my heart was because I read mostly YA right now because it's the genre of a trilogy that I'm currently writing. I enjoy it, but I have seen a huge shift. And so the YA marketing category in the trad pub world is so vast. They are placing content for 13-year-olds in the same realm as 17, 18-year-olds. And so it's just too broad of a category. And then we also discovered, right, Rebecca, in book club, we pick a book that is wildly popular sometimes, and we're like, oh, it looks like a cute rom-com, right? It's got this nice little synopsis, and it's got this cartoon cover, and even that nowadays does not help us to decipher the depth of the graphicness of said romance.
Sometimes you're like, whoa, didn't see that coming. That was really graphic. What?
Right. And so it had been placed on my heart a long time before Rebecca had came to the book club and saying, hey, I want to start a podcast, kind of feeling who would be interested in joining her. I jumped right in, told her about my content rating idea, and she was like, yes, I agree. So it's just something that we at Bloop think is necessary. So what is a content rating? A content rating is not a censorship of any sort. We are not judging you for what you read. We're not trying to tell you what to read. We're not trying to tell authors what they should or should not put in their books. We're simply a tool through our reviews to help readers better gain an understanding of is this book for me or not? So for example, there are a lot of people who want to read a romance but don't want to read about the actual acts. They want closed door, and maybe they want a little more than closed door but not super graphic. So there's a wide range here. So next week we can discuss more on our content ratings, but I thought and got Rebecca's advice on that as well, was we have a children's category, which is safe for all ages. We have a middle grade category, which is mainly safe for all ages. And then what we did was we thought young adults should be split up, right? I hear a lot of people review and say, oh, this is older YA. Well, what is older? What does that mean? So we have YA 12, which means appropriate for 12 and over. And then we have YA 16, which is appropriate for 16 and over. There will be more information about this on the website, and So we also have another category. This is what you heard me asking Rebecca about in her review. I said, that kind of sounds like it could be sweet and sour adult. And the reason why is because right now, currently, the industry uses the term clean romance. And I've seen it, not that I want to, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's brought up that a lot of people, like, it rubs them the wrong way to say clean romance, because a lot of people have a different idea of what that's referring to, and they feel judgment or whatnot. For me, sweet and sour adult basically means 17 and older. Like, it includes adult theme, and which means that the themes themselves might be difficult to read, but in terms of language, it's not going to be full of tons of cuss words, generally fade to black. There might be adult topics, like I said, like drug use or abuse, but you don't see it in detail. Does that make sense? So it could deal with harsher themes and topics without getting too graphic, because for a lot of people experience hardships and trauma and all of that, it could be difficult for them. And then, of course, we have the adult category. We have gone a step further I have gone a step further, and I also created what Book Talk currently refers to as the spice rating. But I went ahead and called it the sexual content. Let's call it what it is. And I'm singling it out only because for me, and me and Rebecca, we read a lot. We're seeing this as a large issue, especially in young adult books. And again, cartoon covers and whatnot, where readers go in and they want to read a certain style of book, and they're getting something completely different. And I brought up an example on my author page in TikTok with Kingdom of the Feared, where the third chapter was, again, this is marketed YA by her publisher, Carrie Maniscalco's publisher, where it's a very descriptive whole chapter of oral sex, a woman giving a man oral sex, like most of the whole chapter, and very, very descriptive. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to read what you want to read. I'm saying that for people who that's not appropriate for, they have a right to know, and for that book to be properly labeled, right?
And again, we're talking about a YA genre where the age range is 12 to 17. So if you're a parent, I mean, my kids are adults now and they can read whatever they want, but if my 13-year-old was going nuts in the bookstore and I didn't know this about books and how some publishers are putting very adult books in the YA genre, and my child went over into the YA section, grabbed a book that had a really cute, cartoony looking cover, and it's YA, and I looked at it, I'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem, go ahead and read it.
If you guys have heard of Neon Gods, have you heard of Neon Gods series?
Yep. I have.
I've seen that in YA tabletops.
Yeah, and I haven't read it. I'm going to, but I haven't read it, but I've heard it's very graphic. Very graphic. And it's young adult.
What I say is you as a parent get to decide what your kid. Me, personally, I am morally opposed to 13-year-olds, 12, 13, 14-year-olds reading about oral sex and it being described in more ways than I could even imagine.
Right.
And it's a book where you can just, they can just skip past that. It's like the damage was already done, but also the whole book, like that is the plot of the book, is these sexcapades. So I'm just like, as a parent, and again, you could say, well, I was reading whatever. It's not about you. It's about people having the right to choose a book,
to make a choice. Yeah.
To make a choice, and for them, and all we're asking is for them to be properly labeled. So at this point, I'm going to kind of close off the discussion, but next week we're going to pick up with that, but it will be on our website. We're going to pick up with this discussion. We'll be reviewing Spinning Silver, is what I'm finishing up, by Naomi Novik. It's a YA book, and I'll be reviewing that. Rebecca will be continuing the discussion on content ratings, where she'll go in and she'll kind of read through for you, so you can become more familiar with what gets placed into what category. And again, this is not about censorship. This is truly about just helping readers make informed decisions, because they have a right to know, and they have a right to be able to read stuff that is appropriate for them at their choice. And for parents to be able to also have more guidance to choose what books for their kiddos.
Yes,
that's my soapbox.
Well, because even for movies, there's a website where you can go to and you can look up a movie and see, hey, is it safe for my child to watch this movie? There's really not anything like that. Yeah, video games. There's not anything like that for books.
Any other like anything else, you have to have ratings. Video games, TV shows, movies. I mean, and I know everybody's not the same as well. You have to remember that a lot of people who read, they see a movie in their head. They don't just see words in their head. A lot of people, so that's another, like, I think, issue. For some people, it's like, oh, it's just words. It doesn't affect me. But there's a lot of people who get very vivid imagery of movie playing in their head, where it's a different story. So, and then you're like, well, you can just fast forward that part. And it's like, well, how do you know how far to go without being triggered again? So, again, it's not about you, you know.
Right.
If you're comfortable reading whatever the heck you want, that's great. But for the people who aren't, they should be able to have confidence in a rating system that they can feel confident choosing that book with what kind of content it has.
Yes. So join us next week here at Blue Book. We'll be on time next week.
We were on time. We were supposed to only be on TikTok, but we just couldn't get it to work. So we're going to work on getting those numbers up, and then we'll be good to go.
Yes. And again, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Blue Podcast. You can find us anywhere. And soon our website will be up. I've seen it so far. It's looking really good, and we're hoping to have all this content so you can just, you know, look us up on our web page and see all of our content ratings and all of the descriptions all lined out for you. So you'll know exactly what we're talking about, and it's at your fingertips as a good tool for you guys to use. So, yeah. Until then, enjoy your evening. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
We'll see you.